What? We are back.
Welcome back, guys. What's up, podcast?
Well, we're happy to have Mike back.
Yeah.
It's been a couple weeks, but we're super stoked to have you back.
Yeah.
Thanks, guys.
And
glad to be back.
and we have a fun episode in store, right? We're gonna talk about a little bit of Star Wars and a little bit of our favorite movies from Marvel.
Yeah.
Yeah, absolutely. I think for first thing we had on the list was Acolyte. Some news came out recently.
Oh yeah, just got canceled.
So,
crazy.
I don't remember the exact budget amount that this show had, but it was ridiculous.
Yeah.
I want to say over 100 million.
Yep, definitely over 100 million.
Yeah. And for something like for that budget to get scrapped after one season, that's like you kind of consider that a failure.
Absolutely.
Let's just see. Star Wars is one of the highest grossing movies, right?
Mm-hmm.
Franchises, and it's just so sad to have somebody like Kathleen Kennedy. I didn't know much about her. I know that she was with Steven Spielberg with Jurassic Park, whatever.
Mm-hmm.
But dude, just the fact that not all, I wouldn't say all fans of Star Wars are against Kathleen Kennedy and her kind of agenda and stuff, but there's a big a lot of fans that are against
probably the higher percentage of fans. I agree with you.
Yeah, and it's a shame because Star Wars is such Lucas, the Lucasfilm Star Wars had a lot of great values and stuff like that. It's just sad. Just hoping that it can change to the better, because I felt like the Acolyte was a big kind of either you watch it or you don't, but people didn't even watch it. You know what I mean?
Yeah. Well, going off of what you just said with Kathleen Kennedy, I think that her direction with Star Wars definitely isn't the greatest. I personally feel, as a fan, as a lifelong fan of Star Wars, that she is destroying the main base of fans that they have always had, right? Let's be real. Star Wars is meant for the nerd in all of us. You know what I mean? Yeah. And it's not that it's ever meant for just a guy or just a girl. I mean, if you remember the original series, you had great roles. You had Leia, who was a leading cast member. She was such a powerful... She lasted throughout all the movies, And same with Luke. And now I feel like the agenda is different with times changing, and they're trying to... make things more inclusive of everybody, and I guess the whole woke thing. So it does kind of put a sour taste in a lot of fans' mouths. It's unfortunate. It's such a beloved franchise, like you said. Nobody wants to see this happen. Even the Acolyte, I did want it to succeed. When I first saw episode 1, I was excited for it. I said, you know what, let's go. I was all in. And a couple things happened that I wasn't a big fan of. The storyline wasn't great. The acting wasn't great. The fight scenes were kind of cool.
That's one thing that everybody was mentioning, especially seeing reels of it on Instagram and stuff like that. The choreography with the lightsabers was very. That was one good thing that came out of it, and I was watching it myself. It looked very intense and stuff. But if you don't have a good story, everything falls apart in between.
Yeah, and then the lines get cheesy, and people are saying things that don't make sense. I think that fans had that issue even with the last 3 movies that came out.
Things that were contradicting.
The older movies. I believe there was a scene where Poe Dameron is being chased by stormtroopers that had jetpacks. And he says, it's a very known line that he says, "Oh, they fly now?" They've been flying in jetpacks since before, way before, even the events of the Skywalker saga. So to say something like that is just poor writing. It doesn't do any justice for any Star Wars fan. Everyone can see that immediately and call it out.
As you mentioned, I'm not going to speak about it because I haven't watched any episodes, but I think from what I've been hearing from a lot of people, I guess there was a lot of they were upset because I guess the show was kind of changing things from the original episodes, and I think it also caused, it reminded me of the last episodes of Star Wars, where you know, they kind of discredited Luke Skywalker with the Jedi Council and stuff, like making him go crazy with all, you know, going through like all of those wars and stuff just for him to go crazy and mad, you know. It's just, it doesn't make sense. Yeah, it doesn't make sense.
Yeah, no, you're right. You're 100% correct. So I think that the thing with the Acolyte is that they gave the main actresses, these two twins, they said that they were born from like this virgins or like something in the Force, you know. And pretty much they gave them like almost like the storyline of like the one, right, which was Anakin Skywalker, that he was born from the Force.
Exactly.
So they brought those two together, and yes, people are not going to like that because Anakin Skywalker was the only one that was ever born from the Force, right? He didn't have a father. He was manipulated through. I think that they say that Darth Plagueis and Darth Sidious did try to like manipulate the Force for Anakin Skywalker to be born, but in all reality, he didn't have a father, right? So that was like the main thing.
Yeah.
And they brought that back again with these twins. So I know fans weren't happy about that. But again, even just the storyline, it really wasn't great. It didn't capture you. Short of the lightsabers and fighting scenes, it really wasn't all that.
Yeah. So one thing I will say, like going back to like the Anakin thing and like both these characters, like all three of these characters being born from the Force, that's just lazy writing to me. How are you just gonna have the same origin story? It's like what?
Yeah.
You can't even be a little bit creative, a little bit more creative or something. Like I don't know.
And they had such a good ability to do it because they set these events 200 years prior to the events of the Skywalker saga.
So they could have made anything happen. Anything out of it would have been valid because it would have been before.
Yeah,
exactly.
Kind of like one like the House of Dragons a little bit, I guess. Like, you know, just like just little pieces that kind of give, like, remember, like Daenerys, or oh snap, you know, bastards like Jon Snow. Just like little things that can kind of that you remember from the previous you know, movies and stuff. But so where do we go from here, right? Now that we have like the Acolyte that's not going to go, right? I think the next upcoming movie is The Mandalorian and Grogu. So like how can in your opinions, how do you think it would kind of fix like the dilemma that we have with like all the fans, like, you know, 50-50?
So one thing is with Mandalorian, you know, that show's already been 3 seasons out now. So and the fan base is there. Like it's already been established. People love the Mandalorian. People love Grogu even more. So I think they have a better platform to succeed than the Acolyte. But yeah, I mean, it just depends how they're going to go about it. I think if they're just going to make a full movie about it, it's going to be interesting. Like they can include characters like Ahsoka or characters like Boba Fett. You know what I mean?
So I think they are going to do that. I think this is going to be like the culmination of all the shows that have come out recently. So it's going to be like the ending of The Mandalorian and Grogu. It's going to be the ending. I don't know. When I say ending, though, I don't mean like they're going to die. Hopefully they don't. But it's going to be like the ending of their stories with Mandalorian and Grogu, I believe, Boba Fett, and Ahsoka. And they all had their shows that came out. They were decent.
Yes, Ahsoka was dope, dude.
Yeah.
It was
when they brought Anakin back.
They brought Anakin. Even with Thrawn, bro. Like, like,
Thrawn was badass.
Thrawn was badass, man.
Yeah, that was so good because especially if you watch the animated show Rebels, this was pretty much a continuation of Rebels. You know, so to see all these characters come back, you know, Ezra, I was not expecting Ezra.
In live action, too.
In live action.
They did a good job with them. Casting-wise.
Casting-wise, yeah, it was pretty good. Even the guy, Balin Skoll, remember the Dark Jedi that was there? He actually, that actor passed away in real life, so it's kind of sad we may not see him anymore. Well, we're not going to see him anymore. But even he was a pretty good addition.
Like his role, like this is just a thing, side thing with acting. Like if your role isn't that big, like people can just make an iconic, you know, thing out of it. Even if it's very small, if they just do a good job with it.
Like the actors themselves can put more.
Absolutely. Just by being themselves, just by not trying to do too much, you know. And he did a great job.
He did. And even his apprentice was pretty cool. She was badass too.
She was very violent.
Very violent, angry, you know, but she did her job. Like that was a great show. So I'm hoping that this movie revitalizes Star Wars. You know?
Yeah, absolutely. I'm hoping so too, because it's definitely kind of divided. And like you said, Grogu, he was kind of like the heart of the show. Like as you reference, I don't understand.
Little Yoda, right? Big Yoda.
It's gonna be
Big Yoda.
It's gonna be hard for Pedro Pascal to play the role of Reed Richards, The Last of Us, and how is he gonna be able to do The Mandalorian? You know what I mean? It's just
You mean in terms of workload?
Workload, like that's like.
I mean, he's gonna actors figure it out.
Yeah, actors figure it out. They get paid millions and millions of dollars to figure it out. I'm sure he'll be okay.
But in terms of his acting skill, I'm sure he's gonna perform well.
Yeah, but I think.
Plus, if you not to interrupt, but if you know what's gonna happen in the next season of The Last of Us, right?
Okay.
I mean, have you guys played the games?
I have played it. But
All right. Well, spoiler alert for anyone who has played or hasn't played the games, but I don't think he's gonna last too long. But yeah, so he might have a lesser workload.
Okay, cool. But yeah, man, I'm super excited about it. I think they're definitely gonna fast forward with Grogu, especially with his like aging, so he can be.
You think he's gonna grow up a little bit, or
no? Well, I think he's gonna be there for a very long time.
Okay.
But, like if they play it smart, he can be like the new Yoda, and Yoda was pretty much the heart of the Jedi Council, right?
Yeah.
Yeah, he was the Grandmaster.
The Grandmaster. Yeah, exactly. He was kind of like the heart and soul. So if they can kind of build around that, I don't know, like if they're gonna kind of fast forward to kind of present time with Rey and how that they can correlate it
or connect it.
Somehow. Yeah, I don't know how that.
I think that in this new movie there are rumors that Rey will show up.
Wow.
So they are probably going to connect.
That would
them.
be huge.
That would be very big.
That would probably be the biggest thing that happened since the latest 3 movies came out. Connecting, like, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like, because especially since everything they did with Luke. Like, you know what I mean?
Yeah, back to what you said with that. That was terrible.
Yeah.
I think that the way that they made
They destroyed his character.
They destroyed it. It was horrible.
He was everyone's like love in the first 3 movies, the original movies, right? He was the one that he supported and he actually even forgave his father, who Darth Vader was a pretty bad guy at that time. I mean, if you
say the least.
to say the least, yeah. If you
killed
see
planets for no reason.
exactly, thousands, millions of people, just because he could. So yeah, I mean, he wasn't the greatest guy, but his son was able to find like a redeeming quality in his own father who did all that. And then in The Last Jedi, he just flips a switch because his nephew is going through some things and then wants to kill him, and that was crazy.
Yeah, it just
destroying
doesn't make
his
sense.
character.
Yeah, but that leads to a big question now that Palpatine is now gone, right? Well, Smoke, whatever.
Let's hope that he's finally gone.
Yeah. Who's going to be the next guy, right? Because it has to be somebody big.
Next big villain.
I did like I did like the storyline of the
Rebels.
No, the Jedi that you just referenced.
Right.
The other one.
Palpatine.
No.
Plagueis.
No.
Talking about a Jedi.
Anakin Skywalker.
No.
Is it a Jedi or
no? Han Solo's son.
Ben Solo.
Ben.
No. Well, yeah, he is Ben Solo technically.
Yeah,
but,
Ben Solo, but he becomes he becomes the villain, and then he comes back to becoming a Jedi when he dies.
Yeah.
I did like that kind of storyline. Like him coming back to the light a little bit. Yeah. But I don't know. I think it's going to be Thrawn. It'd be interesting because he's been out for years. Trying to get back. Being lost, like as you referenced with Rebels. It'd be pretty cool. I think Thrawn would be a pretty cool kind of like nemesis or something.
I agree. I think if they really make Thrawn the main bad guy, that would be like pretty cool.
Because like
he's such a strategic man. Like he's very smart in war.
So he's very military, right? But he has no force applications.
No.
Okay.
Yeah,
but he has the right people around him. Okay. So even in Ahsoka, if you remember, he was dealing with one of the witches from Dathomir.
Yeah.
So he has people in his that have.
That's
powers.
another thing, right? That's a connection to Darth Maul, right?
Yeah, that's where he's from.
Right.
Yeah.
So I mean, Darth Maul has come back like time and time again in like the comics and stuff, and like even in Clone Wars.
Yeah.
So that's another option.
Do you imagine they brought him back again?
I would love it.
So I had heard somewhere that originally George Lucas's vision for the last 3 movies that came out before Disney took over was to make Darth Maul the main bad guy.
Wow.
Yeah. And I was like so with that idea. They had brought him on and like really made him the bad guy after all these years, after outlasting Obi-Wan, outlasting Darth Vader.
He failed against so many people, but he was resilient and coming back in so many different ways. like, you know,
got chopped in half.
Yeah, and you know, especially in the Clone Wars, there's a lot more that goes into it. But like, he's just a very cool character.
Yes.
And he might come back. He might.
Yeah,
that would be amazing.
Yeah, but there is, like we said, there is possibilities that, you know, it can kind of flip flop, kind of like it. But the Acolyte was just very disappointing in many ways, and
really
we're hoping that you know, Disney can kind of just understand what the fans are talking about.
Yeah, they got to pay attention to the fans, man.
Yeah.
You know, bring it back to that old school, like, you know, the traditions of Star Wars, the mythology. You know, better like writing for these characters. You know, have a story that people can connect with, and not just like, the lightsaber battles are awesome, but that's not all.
No.
You need a good story in anything nowadays, in any movie. You know, even like in Marvel movies, we're seeing the same thing. Marvel movies and shows, where they're not giving all these shows like good writing. You know, they'll throw in like a couple cameos or whatever, and then the rest of it's kind of crap.
So, talking about movies, let's stem a little bit more to the Marvel Cinematic Universe. I know that we're kind of like in the midpoint of Phase 5, but I thought it would be fun if we kind of just talked about our top 5 movies of Phase 5 for right now. What you think are your favorite? Maybe we can go a little one by one. You know, we can go to what's the 5 to 1.
You know, all right, sounds good.
Yeah, you cool with that?
Yeah, it's fine.
All right,
so we could do like all Phase 5, like I guess movies and shows too. Right?
Yeah,
all right,
I guess we can all talk like which movie you guys liked for like 5, and then we can take turns. We can just discuss, I guess. Yeah.
So my number 5 would be a TV show. It was What If. It was an animated show, and you know, one cool thing about it, which I'm sure which was different for everybody watching it. It was a scenario. You know, there were scenarios in each episode, like very short episodes. I think it was 20 minutes each. Each episode would kind of show a character in a different situation that we've seen before, or like a different reality or a different universe, something like that aspect. And I thought like that was pretty cool because, you know, you're seeing like, I remember one like with Vision, and if he had the gauntlet,
I remember that,
and he just becomes so evil, like, and then he's actually not even Vision, right? Because that's what Ultron was supposed to be.
He turns into like the ultimate Vision.
And it just showed like how little like things can go, like with all these superheroes, like all these different realities and all these different things that can happen, good or bad. You know what I mean? And I just thought it was different, cool. Like, 'cause it's a different play, and it makes you think. And that's what that show was meant to be put out there for, I think.
I remember they even had an episode where they all turned into zombies.
Yeah.
Do you remember that?
I remember that.
That was so cool.
That was so cool. Yeah, that was What If is pretty cool, and I love that it was just like small segments.
Exactly, it wasn't too much. It was like little doses. Like, you know,
of like perfect taste of everything.
Exactly.
Yeah, like what if certain things were to happen? But it all kind of made sense with kind of like the cinematic universe.
Yeah, like it was all stuff that was possible. It could have happened.
Yeah, so like even what you just brought up with when Ultron or Vision turns into that very powerful version. Remember, he gets so powerful that the Watcher. Which had been talking and narrating everything to us throughout every episode. He gets found out. That's pretty cool. It's like, oh, you're finding the reader or like the narrator, you know, like. And he broke through the realities to get to him too. So that was awesome.
Even that character, the Watcher, was really cool because he was introduced only in What If. I think.
Yeah, he's been there. I mean, he is a character in the Marvel Cinematic Universe in all of it.
And they actually did that a lot this phase, breaking the fifth wall. Is that how they reference the fourth wall?
Yeah.
Like with She-Hulk and a lot of Deadpool.
Yeah.
Pretty interesting. Definitely something that we weren't accustomed to. But for me, my 5 was Ant-Man and Quantumania.
That's a good choice.
You know, was it my, it wasn't necessarily if I had to rate it with all of mine combined, it wouldn't be kind of like on my top tier. But just the introduction of Kang the Conqueror and how it kind of introduced the quantum realm, and I thought that was pretty fascinating. Definitely kind of had to watch it again to kind of have an understanding a little bit of it. My only flaw with that movie was the fact that Kang was supposed to be this dynamic, strong character, and I felt like, it only took like 10-15 minutes of screen time for them to like vanish him out.
I agree. I thought like the first time I was watching it, I just seriously thought Ant-Man was gonna die. I felt it. Like I felt he was gonna die, and I thought that would have been so cool for Kang's character.
Yeah.
To be so badass up front like that, and just take out somebody like Ant-Man, who's like not even the strongest, but like people like him.
Yeah.
People like him. You know what I mean?
And that's how you make people get attached.
That's a big gut.
It's a lot of drama, a lot of like heartbreak.
Yeah.
Yeah, you're right. They have to do that sometimes. You got to see like some of your favorite heroes die.
Yeah.
For you to get that connection.
Yeah.
And I agree. Like the movie was good, but they did not Ant-Man. Kang. They didn't do him that great in that movie.
Yeah, I was disappointed, but then it kind of like explained a little bit, which I thought was pretty cool, the references between the TVA and Kang and the Kang character. Like now that he was gone, now the Council of Kangs are coming, and that's supposed to be kind of like what we were anticipating at the time.
You were anticipating. Yeah. Because I remember even before the movie came out, everybody had thought that Ant-Man was gonna die in that movie. I remember it was like everyone was talking about it, like Ant-Man's dying in this movie. Everyone thought that.
Yeah.
And then he survives, and it's like, all right,
Yeah.
So I agree. For my 5 though, I have the Marvels.
Okay.
So I liked the Marvels. I didn't think it was as bad. I liked Kamala Khan and I liked what's her name? The main one. Brie Larson, yeah. And I forget the other lady's name, but Monica Rambeau, I believe is her character's name. They were all pretty cool. They had their powers. They showcased a lot of stuff. I think again, the writing wasn't that great in the movie, which is why I have it as my 5. It could have been done a little bit better. The visuals were good. I thought that the fight scenes were cool.
Okay.
I just didn't like the writing.
Yeah.
I thought that it was a little cheesy. Very cheesy.
Yeah.
So yeah, I rate it as my 5.
Yeah, I guess it kind of had like the same kind of thing with Ant-Man. Like the after credit was pretty dope when it introduced kind of the Beast. Mm-hmm. To see. Oh yeah, I thought that was cool. But that's just a small part of the movie.
Yeah, they give you like a little taste at the end of something else. So who do you have as your 4?
4, I had Ant-Man.
You had Ant-Man?
So it was between Ant-Man or What If. Pretty much interchangeable for me. Like it could have been either way. Mm-hmm. But like Ant-Man was a great movie, especially when they bring back Michelle Pfeiffer's character. She was the original Wasp.
The original Wasp.
Yeah, I thought that was pretty cool.
Yeah.
I'm just a big fan of Michelle Pfeiffer in general.
Yeah.
She's a great actress.
Yeah.
And
she's awesome.
The fact that she's even in it is like, that's so great. Like, you know what I mean?
She is an awesome actress.
Yeah.
I mean, she was even like the Catwoman back in the day.
Right.
She was the original Catwoman.
She was the OG,
Like,
And she was hot.
Yeah, she was the hot commodity back then.
Yeah, she was. I mean,
I don't know if you see Scarface, but...
oh yeah, that's right. She was in that too.
Man. I always remember that.
No, she's a great actress.
Yeah. But the cast in that Ant-Man is like phenomenal. What's the other guy's name? Douglas. He plays the original Ant-Man.
Is it Michael Douglas?
Michael Douglas.
Yeah.
Yeah. So like, and then the whole movie was pretty. It had a good story and stuff. But like we already touched on it.
Yeah.
So yeah, who'd you guys have number 4?
I had What If.
Okay.
Just pretty much because of what you referenced. Yeah. I just love the fact that it was small episodes that had significant like impacts, like random.
Yeah.
Which made it super cool.
It takes you like your mind like a little bit further enough to be like, oh, that's pretty cool, and then like it's like okay, it's over.
And here's the next one.
Yeah.
Yeah, and it makes you wonder with like all the different variants that it can actually happen in.
Other universes.
Yeah.
It should. Different possibilities, like things that could happen.
And things that people could just think of. Like I mean, the zombies thing. Anyone could have thought like, oh, what if all of our superheroes just became zombies?
Yeah.
That's a cool one. You know what I mean? Like, so I think my 4, I had Ant-Man.
Okay.
So same reasons.
Yeah. I think we're all kind of like have the similar mentality.
In agreement with that. Yeah. It was like interchangeable between the Marvels and Ant-Man with me.
Yeah. Like we said, we're in the midpoint of Phase 5, so there's not too much out there.
No.
So our rankings are going to be somewhat close.
Yeah.
So what about number 3? Mike?
So for me, I have 3. I have Deadpool and Wolverine.
Okay. Oh.
So yeah, getting into the top 3, I think Deadpool and Wolverine deserves a good spot because they had everything in that movie that you wanted, right? I mean, even though the storyline or the writing may not also have been amazing.
Yeah.
That's not why you go and watch Ryan Reynolds' Deadpool.
Yeah.
You know what you expect when you see him, and what the funny, like the comedy that's gonna come with it, all the gore that's gonna come, the action, the fighting scenes, and then of course the cameos.
Yeah.
And I think that in this movie, the cameos really made it big.
Yeah.
You know, they brought out Gambit.
Yeah.
And I know that they've been trying to get Gambit out there for quite a long time with Channing Tatum.
Yeah.
You know, then they brought out Blade, the old school Blade, which was sick.
Yeah.
You know, that guy still got it. I don't know he's still built, and you know, he still looks like the old Blade. You know, he's amazing. Yeah. They brought Elektra. They brought, you know, all different variants of like other characters. They had
the guy. He looks like the devil. Like he's red and he vanishes and he's like the teleporter.
Hazazel, I think.
I think so. Yeah.
Yeah, they
he's
had
a great character.
Mm-hmm. He was in X-Men First Class.
Yes.
Yeah.
And then they had Pyro.
Yeah, they had Pyro
in
the back.
Oh, I actually didn't recognize him until the movie was over, and I was like,
Sabretooth, the original.
They had the original Sabretooth.
Yeah.
They had Juggernaut too.
Yeah,
they had Juggernaut.
Yeah, not the OG Juggernaut. I think
he was an actual actor character, because like I think in the second Deadpool it was CGI or something like that.
Yeah, he was a giant one.
And even Deadpool commented on it. He was like, "Oh, I guess he's the Juggernaut for this movie."
Yeah.
It's very vintage Ryan Reynolds movie, which you know, a lot of people seem to enjoy. I do have it as my number 3, just because there was a lot of references from the old Sony. You know, it gave like triage to like the past, which was pretty cool. Mm-hmm. It felt when I was anticipating the movie, I thought it was going to be a nice farewell to Hugh Jackman, but it was completely different. Mm-hmm. Not only is he part of the cinematic universe, but now he's an important aspect of kind of like
he's critical. What was
his universe they pretty much?
Like not a keystone.
I know what you're referring to.
When they say like they remove him from the world that dies.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. Which is they're gonna play into Secret Wars. Yeah. You know, which will have implications for the future. Yeah. So I think that's gonna be pretty exciting. Super funny. Yeah. It had its funny humor, but it also had really like intense moments. I remember the scene where Ryan Reynolds and Hugh Jackman were in the car scene, and he was just and he just went in on Deadpool. I got goosebumps, dude. It was, and then a huge brawl. You know,
they beat the crap out of each other in that car.
That's just so genius to me. For them to be like, you know what? Let's have a scene of us fighting. Let's just do it in a minivan. Yeah. And let's just make the whole it's just like it's smart budgeting, and it's just genius. Like all they have to do is rent get like an old Honda Odyssey or whatever the fuck it was, and like they just destroyed it, and like that scene lasted so long too.
Yeah. That was a good scene.
It had comedic relief. Yeah. It had action. You know what we all expect. It
was kind of funny because it started off by wasn't Wolverine like talking crap to Deadpool, and he made him feel really bad.
They were fighting.
And then Deadpool like looks away, and he's like, "I'm gonna punch you now."
Yeah.
And then Wolverine starts talking, and just wails him right in the face.
Yeah.
And then that's how it started. That was good.
Dude, like even in the beginning, like when they played the Backstreet Boys, like the monologue, I was just like, like when I got out of the movie theater, I was like, I put it on my Spotify, you know what I mean? The hype was real, dude. The hype was real.
So who did you have for your 3, Ryan?
For my number 3, I had Guardians 3.
Guardians?
Yeah.
Ooh.
I had Guardians 3. And this was tough, you know what I mean? Because like, I love that movie so much. Yeah. Especially like, you know, if you're an animal lover, you love that movie. Mm-hmm. The character Rocket, you see his background, you see where he came from. It was just directed so well.
Okay.
And like, you know, it was a really coming of age story for Rocket a little bit, because he becomes the leader of the Guardians, like, you know, at the end of the movie. Yeah. I thought it was a really good movie. I thought it was a good spot for them at number 3.
Okay. Yeah. So who do you have as number 2?
Number 2, I had Deadpool and Wolverine.
Okay.
Because of all the things that you guys mentioned, and it's just like it was like little pieces of bliss with every cameo that was there, and because these are all characters that, like, you know, if you're a superhero nerd, you love all these characters. Oh yeah. You love any superhero, and they just did them. He just did them so right. Yep. Like all these guys got canceled. Like they didn't even have like it was so cool the way they did it, and they put them in the void. Mm-hmm. It was just brilliant. Yeah. And even the interaction between Deadpool and Wolverine, in the comics they're supposed to be hating each other, but like they're kind of stuck to each other a little bit too. They both can't die.
Yeah.
And immediately right off the bat, when they started fighting each other and stuff, like they were able to regenerate and not be hurt. And I thought that was so great because in the previous Wolverine movies, it would take them a little while to regenerate.
Yeah.
You know, so I was glad that they were able to just like, you know, stab each other and just like take it and just keep going, which has never been seen before. And then plus they just like, they made fun of Fox so much. I've never seen anything like that. Like, you know,
that one scene when they were like panning out when they were in that like area that like the void, and you literally see the huge sign of the 20th Century Fox. It's there
in the void. It's like that's where they belong.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Yeah, absolutely.
Like they just kept rejecting all the ideas that all these brilliant people had and stuff, and they said, "No, we're gonna do it our way." And you know now they're gonna pay the price for it because I honestly think like, you know, Disney's, like we talked about before, like Disney stock hasn't been doing well, this and that. Like I really think Disney's gonna go up from now.
Yeah, hopefully they start listening. You know, people want they've been wanting the MCU and Fox and even Sony for a long time. You know, I know it took a long time for Spider-Man to finally get into the MCU. You know, because before that it was like the Tobey Maguire and then the Andrew Garfield Spider-Man.
It was a long time for them to get to this point. Long time.
Finally, we have Tom Holland, who's like, he's probably going to lead, I think, in the next Avengers movie. He's probably going to lead like the ground characters, you know what I mean? Into the next Avengers movie.
Yeah, I mean, and if like, you know, this is like a learning lesson for all, like, you know, companies like Fox and stuff like that, Paramount, like, you know, look at the success Deadpool and Wolverine had. You know, maybe we should listen to our fans.
Yeah. So who do you have as your 3?
Well, 3 I had Deadpool.
Oh, I'm sorry, your 2.
So for my 2, I'm kind of stemming off something different, a TV series, Loki. Loki, I love. The first season was kind of like you know, it's kind of like Game of Thrones where you have to kind of get into it a little bit, and at the end you're like, with the explosion, and then you're just like, and then in the second season you're just there and it just continues to ramp up. You know what I mean? So like I just loved just the because I wasn't familiar with the TVA, but now like just the character arc of Loki, you know, being, you know, the god of mischief, you know, kind of now he's like the god of stories, right? Controlling now like he's holding everything together.
He's holding like the narratives of like the universes, I believe. And then just like you were referencing, you know, Deadpool, just that small little clip where it had, you know, Deadpool with Thor. You know, when Thor was crying, dude, I was just like, dude, it has to be like a reference of Loki, you know what I mean? And I was happy that they were able to give us like kind of little pieces of a little bit of kind of the future, because a lot of it was 20 Fox, but stemming back to Loki, it was just masterclass. Things that I wouldn't even anticipated. It just was presented and great acting. Tom Hiddleston blew it out of the park.
Absolutely.
I don't see his character, like what can he do now? He can't leave. You know what I mean?
He's Loki.
It's going to be like a little bit like of an ultimatum. Like somebody has to replace him as that, and then he can live his life, or you know,
he could be different. I can see him being different variances and stuff. But the main Loki, the one that we love, is always going to be there. Unless you're going to go to the end of time, you're not gonna be able to see him. You know. So it's going to be interesting to see how it correlates. You know, who's going to do the. Is it going to be Doctor Doom? I don't know how they're going to have that. But I was super happy with Loki, man.
I had it as my 2 as well. I really enjoyed it. I thought it was, like you said, it was a masterclass. It was good acting, good writing. I thought season 1 was actually even better, but season 2 also was amazing. I thought that that version of Kang that they had also was pretty interesting. I liked him. I forget his name, Victor something. But
a descendant from Reed Richards.
So that was pretty cool. But yeah, you're right. Tom Hiddleston did such a good job. I think that guy deserves whatever award they get for TV shows. You know,
like an
Golden
Emmy
Globe or Emmy or whatever it is. You know, that final scene when he realizes he says, the God that I need to become. You know, like you said, referencing what you just said, that he was the god of mischief and he knew he needed to change to like save everybody and save the timeline. And he became the holder of story. What is it?
The God of Stories.
God of Stories or whatever it is. Yeah.
But it's funny that you mentioned that. It was the first season, but when he kind of saw his future and how it planned out, you know, and he had like that intervention, I was like, oh my goodness, that is so crazy.
Yeah, because you have to show what changes in his mind, because this is a character like who you see countless times before, like have like, you know, causing mischief, but like also you don't expect nothing from him.
Yeah.
This is a guy who's always gonna like, yeah, I'm good, and then backstab you.
He's
like,
always been a backstabber.
He's always been that.
Yeah.
He's always been that, and like for them to show like him like actually go through it, his arc, and even just like go through like there's so many different, like he kept going back in time, right, and he kept trying to do his thing, and like he realized like the way I'm doing things, and like everything's gonna end anyways.
I'm gonna get choked out by Thanos.
Yeah, this will all end.
Yeah.
And that's when he talks to the other variant, like he's trying to convince the other variant of Loki, the woman, you know,
Sylvie.
Yeah. He's trying to convince Sylvie, like, hey, you need to stop too. Like, you need to stop jumping from, you know, universes.
And I liked Sylvie too. I thought I liked her character, you know, because she didn't trust him, and that's how Lokis are.
Yeah.
They're not really trusting people.
No.
They're the gods of mischief, so they know like what is bad in people. You know, so she, for the whole season, for the whole first season, and then like even the second season, she really wasn't trusting of Loki.
Yeah.
And I thought that was like very true to her character.
Yeah.
You know. So
they didn't make it easy for the script, but it was executed so well.
It was so brilliant, dude. Just like what was it, Victor Smiley?
That was his name?
Yeah, I think so.
So like when Loki goes up to him, he's like, how many years will it take for me to be perfect in your craft? And he's like, I don't know. And he said 150 years.
Yeah.
He went back 150 years just to be in the exact same moment.
Yeah.
And then he tried it and it didn't work, bro. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like I really enjoyed it.
Yeah,
I really enjoyed it.
When he's in the room with the Kang,
yeah,
and then he like snaps his finger, remember, and he's like, "What makes you think I haven't been here before?"
Yeah,
that was like, oh, and then even he was like, "Okay," he clapped for him. He was like, "I see you now."
It's so cool, man.
That was season 1, right? That was the ending of season 1, or
that was the end of season 1, I think. Yeah.
I mean, Loki in general, the whole show has just been such a good show. Like season 1 and 2 have been.
Yeah,
I know that the Kang character, like they're totally like not going to go forward with that, but like just the anticipation of like what was going to happen, and even just like the little bit that Jonathan Major showed us of Kang, he did a really good job.
Yeah, it's really unfortunate.
Yeah, but yeah, just to build up the whole everything, Loki's character development, just the story of like what's going to happen, what like even introducing the new villain Kang.
Yeah,
it's not going to be the new villain unfortunately, but it was very well executed.
Yeah.
So Mike, what was your 2?
So 2 was my Loki, and I put number 1 as Guardians of the Galaxy.
Okay.
So I thought I would put that number 1 because I really, really enjoyed Guardians. I think that in general, all three movies have been great. I loved each Guardians, which is hard to say for any like trilogy of movies for any character, except maybe like Captain America. Yeah. I loved all 3 of Captain America's movies.
Yeah.
Iron Man, some of that, like 3 was okay.
There was a lot of Iron Man movies.
Yeah. Thor, I didn't like really any of his movies.
What?
Yeah. Ragnarok was good, but the first 2, terrible.
And
then the 4th one that they just came out with, Love and Thunder. Oh my God.
Yeah. Ragnarok is.
That movie wasn't on any of our lists because that was really bad.
But that was
Was that Phase 4 or Phase 5?
Might have been Phase 4. I'm not sure, but anyways, it made it.
Yeah. I have Guardians at 1 because you know it had everything. It had good story, it had good writing, had good characters. I loved the villain. I thought that I don't know the actor's name in real life, but the Evolutionary, right? The High Evolutionary was his character's name. Yeah. He did such a good job at being like the ultimate bad guy, finding all the strengths and weaknesses of all these other characters and people, and like trying to make like the perfect person or like the perfect being, right? That was his whole point, and I thought that was like such a good thing, you know, like. Normally all these villains were already created or they had some like other motive. His motive was just to be perfect, you know? And that's how they tied in Rocket Raccoon, why he was experimented on. I thought that whole thing was so sad and done very well with his friends that were in the cages. That one girl, or I think she was an otter. Her name was like Layla or Lila.
Exactly.
That story when she like speaks to him at that point where he's like about to die, but she like turns him around and says, "No, you still have to finish your mission." I almost shed a tear in that moment. I literally almost like cried. It is gut wrenching. So that movie was done very well. It wasn't super cheesy. The only character I wasn't really a big fan of in that movie was they introduced Adam Warlock in that movie. Now I don't mind the character himself, like the guy who acted as the guy, but I know that in the comics, Adam Warlock is a little bit more powerful. He's a little bit more mysterious and a little bit more...
He's more of a leader.
He
was a jokester or something.
He even like, becomes like friends with... I don't know, friends is a stretch, but like him and Thanos even like talk at one point about like the universe. I'm pretty sure they have moments in the comics together. And I'm also pretty sure that he holds the gauntlet at one time.
Yeah, exactly.
He holds the gauntlet. So... I did want them to
even hold the gauntlet. You have to be very powerful.
You have to be very powerful, right? So
that killed Tony Stark, didn't it?
Yeah, to use it. So like I kind of wanted them to make his character a little bit more like forthright, a little bit more powerful,
Yeah.
Not a villain, but just someone that was more respectable. I thought that in the movie. So that was probably like my only takeaway from the Guardians that I didn't like. But besides that, I thought the movie was great.
Yeah, I'm stemming off of what Mike said. That's I have it as one. With Adam Warlock, I felt like they had like an issue with that character because he was probably going to be overpowering, powerful. So I think James Gunn was probably like, oh, you know what? We're going to put him like where he doesn't have his powers fully, to make him super weak right now. But so like in the future, he's gonna be like the leader, like, but with Rocket Raccoon, I did not anticipate that from the beginning. From where it ended, it was just pure beauty. Just seeing the character development. He always had leadership qualities, but the way that he was given the mantle and he like took it was such a rewarding, but also like kind of heart-wrenching, because of like all the things that he's dealt with, and like him wanting to let go, but now he found a deeper purpose and to be a leader. And I love and one of the good things that I liked about this movie that was a little bit different than a lot of the other ones is that it was kind of like a bittersweet. There was a lot of good ones, but there was a lot of sadness, but happy sadness, right? We have Star-Lord now going to pretty much America to see his grandfather. So he's leaving. His sister, I forgot her name, but the one that has the attendants, she leaves to do her thing, and now some of the Guardians are coming back. Batista now is going to be a father with all the kids and the people that they saved. It was kind of sad, but it was also like kind of happy because everybody is finding their purpose and what makes them happy.
Even Gamora,
yeah,
they brought back like that version of Gamora that they had brought back in Endgame, so it's from a different universe, which I thought was also cool. They tied in that story again because obviously Peter or Star-Lord was like looking back to see if maybe she would want to be with him, and if they could rekindle that, but it's not the same Gamora. She had no idea what was going on. So I did like that they kept true to that. They didn't like turn it into like a love story or like that they didn't make like Gamora just say, oh, now I'm in love with you again. Like that's
kind of what the first one was, right? Like, it was a bit more of a love story, kind of. It was in there.
It took like the first two movies of the Guardians for them to actually like consider themselves a relationship,
right?
But like it took so much time and like that story to like unfold for that to happen. Whereas it wouldn't have organically happened in this movie. It
especially like that.
It would have been forced. So I'm glad that they kept them like separate, and then she became, I think, a leader in that group.
The pirates.
Like the space pirate. I forget their name. They're the Ravagers.
The Ravagers.
The Ravagers. So she's like a part of that group, which I like that. That's a cool little send off. She's still Gamora. She still has all her shit. Right. So I'm excited to see if they do bring her back. in what capacity now that she's a Ravager, but that she's still like going out there doing her own thing. Like, you know, will she come back with some new weapons or new, you know, powers or something? You know, who knows?
Right.
So yeah, I'd like, but go ahead.
You know, like you said, it's a lot of things that I definitely liked about the movie. I don't have any negative remarks about it. I thought it was all pretty, you know, up to the standards of what I was kind of hoping for.
Yeah.
So like, it was definitely my favorite by far. It was, but then again, you know, phase 5 is not necessarily my favorite phase so far, but hopefully with the upcoming movies coming out, I'm super psyched for Daredevil, you know, and then Fantastic Four, of course.
And Ryan, did you say who your number one was?
My number one was Loki.
Loki? Okay.
Yeah, so like we've touched on it before, but yeah, I mean, I totally understand why you guys have Guardians at number one. It's very different from any other Marvel movie or anything like that. Very complete. But yeah, like Loki, Deadpool, and Guardians could have pretty much been interchangeable for me.
Yeah.
I just had Guardians at number 3 because, you know, like it's more of like that movie kind of shows a little bit more of like Rocket Raccoon and like his development and kind of what happens in his past. Deadpool and Wolverine, I'm just like, that's been something that people have been waiting for a very, very long time. And then Loki, I just was very, very unexpected because, like I said, like Loki's a character you don't really expect much from, and then he ends up saving everybody. It's just like very, very cool how they did it.
And hence to like the screenwriting and stuff, but to implement like quantum physics and time travel and bringing it down to a way that anybody can understand it. Kudos to them, dude, because that is super hard. Did I have to watch it like 3 times to understand it? Yes, but still, you know, it's super hard to just understand that, and that's one of the, I guess, one of the flaws that Marvel has right now, because like a lot of like the upcoming movies are like internals, and the Captain Marvels are cosmic. So it's a little hard to understand.
It's very hard,
but,
especially to like gauge people's powers and like how strong they are.
Without the good writing, you know, the good backstories, it falls apart.
And that's one thing that happened with Star Wars that we were just referencing.
I mean, those last 6 movies or last 3 movies, they fell apart. You know, Disney's not doing great with that. So hopefully they turn it around, they change things. You know?
Well, the Empire's gonna strike back. You know what I mean? Let's hope. But thank you guys for watching and listening to our top 5s. Make sure you swipe and give us a comment. Let us know how you like it. Just give us some feedback of what you guys want us to talk about, and we'll be happy to talk about it.
Thank you guys.
See you. Catch you later,
guys.